When I start a new TV show, I find that aside from the show's pilot episode, I am most hooked by one aspect of a series that is often overlooked.
Just say the thing. You don't need to introduce the concept that there's going to be a thing.
The title sequence. A show's title sequence being overlooked isn't exactly a bad or even unique thing. In the age of modern streaming, and almost all live TV having watch guides, or information blocks that pop up on command to let you know what you're watching, sometimes even the option to skip it entirely, a show's title sequence seems like an arbitrary aspect of the TV watching experience that can be taken away without much real impact. But what intrigues me are shows that disregard the thought that the title sequence is just meant to be skipped, and take the time to make the intros an extension of storytelling for the shows they introduce in a way that is much more subtle and can add to the overall theme of the series. While not every series attempts this feat, or really needs it, the shows that choose to try something more symbolic and expansive for their series runs are worth taking note of, and seeing what creative minds can do with a 30-second block that introduces an audience to a long-running story. The title sequence, or credit sequence as it is sometimes called, is a set block at the start of a TV show that serves as an introduction to the audience of what show they are watching, as well as series regular actors in the show, and contractually required listings of key positions that work behind the scenes to make the show possible. Historically, this brief introduction began as a simple title card, followed by flashing names of the actors, sometimes even read by an announcer.
The Honeymooners. With the stars, Art Carney.
Some shows, like The Brady Bunch, even use this time to introduce the entire premise of the show.
That this group must somehow form a family. That's the way we all became the Brady Bunch. The Brady Bunch.
Thereby eliminating the need for a viewer to have to watch a series from the beginning, and allowing someone to drop in on almost any episode of the series. These kinds of shows with a catchy theme song really have their own die-hard followings, and are more numerous than you might initially think.
Making your way in the world today takes everything you've got.
If anything, I could say that this cat was rare, but I thought, man, forget it. Yo, home's the Bel Air. And to see the bus fly by, it's alright, 'cause I'm safe at the bill.
Horny is a place you ought to be, so they loaded up the truck and they moved to Beverly Hills, that is, swimming pools, movie stars.
But these kinds of musical intros fell out of fashion by the late 90s, leading to a bit of a strange era where network TV shows were unsure of how long to make their opening credits, making some awkwardly long introductions like Dawson's Creek. 45 seconds of teens standing around wasn't exactly the most efficient use of time, and this was still in an age where longer title sequences meant less time for the actual TV show in the programming slot. This trend then seemed to regress in the 2000s, with shows going back to a flashing title card and getting right to the main story. Think about the 2008 show Breaking Bad. The show's intro is a simple 17-second title card reveal that adds the element of the periodic table to reference Walter's mastery of chemistry. But aside from that, it's just the title. Or the wildly popular Always Sunny in Philadelphia. Despite the show gearing up for its 17th season, it still maintains its original 31-second opening sequence from the 2005 premiere of Season 1. A hard cut to the title of the episode, followed by the name of the show, and then grainy footage of random Philadelphia landmarks shot by Charlie Day out the window of a car, all set to royalty-free orchestra music. The exception for these network TV trends of the 2000s is a channel that has long been considered a pioneer in advancing what can be done with the TV show. HBO shows notably have a long history of pushing the boundaries of television in ways that are often imitated after their success. This stands true with opening credits, as you can point to the start of modern TV show introductions trying to add a new element to the show as a direct reflection of HBO shows like The Sopranos, 6 Feet Under, and The Wire, opting to have more illustrative openings. But because network TV shows are still beholden to advertising to pay the bills, we didn't get to see more TV shows try to emulate the HBO model until another major shift in modern television: the advent of streaming. This is due to the fact that with online streaming, showrunners were no longer constrained by a restrictive programming block with 22-minute-long shows. Shows could now run as long as the creators wanted, so long as they fit within the budget. And with the lack of time restraints, they now had a chance to take the novel idea of an opening credit sequence and use it in a new way. While the examples we gave before of TV title sequences aren't wrong for what they do, or even bad, they do miss out on potential opportunities to do a little extra with their introductions. Rather than just introducing the title of the show and the series' regular actors, there are shows that use the title sequence to say something more, with subtle changes in the sequence, symbolism,
What is this symbolism?
or storytelling visuals that enhance the show's story when put together, like a math equation of 1 + 1 = 3. Each one in the equation, the show and the intro, may hold their own as separate entities, but when combined, they say something new altogether that can only be achieved when paired up. Let's take a look at our previous example of Breaking Bad. A very succinct opening title sequence that doesn't do much aside from letting us know the title of the show. The spin-off show of Better Call Saul seemingly has the same approach to the title sequence upon first viewing of the show. A simple guitar riff played over close-up shots of key detail props related to the show. But as the series progresses, the opening title sequence slowly begins to deteriorate, much as a VHS tape does, showing artifice and distortions until you reach the final season, when the title sequence quite literally stops entirely. We are left with a blue VHS stop screen and no music leading us into the final chapter of Jimmy's, or Gene's, story. This deterioration of the title sequence mirrors Jimmy's deterioration of character until he fully embraces his Saul Goodman persona, with the eventual blue screen intro representing his fallout from the events of Breaking Bad, leading to his life as Gene, and final redemption back to his identity as Jimmy McGill, when he fully accepts responsibility for his actions in Breaking Bad, as well as Better Call Saul. This is a beautiful reflection of the moral character of Jimmy, and subtly reflects his descent into his identity of Saul Goodman. Another show with a simple but effective title sequence that is reflective of the main character is Ted Lasso. On the first watch, it also appears to just give you the title of the show, as well as the main series actors. But as you get a few episodes into the series, you begin to understand the methodology of Ted's coaching style, of inspiring others to be the best versions of themselves, and how his infectious optimism begins to change the people around him, and subsequently the Richmond Football Club, for the better. The opening title sequence takes on a new meaning entirely. The changing of the seat colors is emblematic of the change in attitude that Ted inspires in others around him. And if you look closely, even the graffiti on the seats dissolves away, symbolizing the cleaning up of the tattered reputation of the Richmond Football Club. This all begins with Ted as he sits down. He is the epicenter of change we see in the show, and this is reflected by the title sequence. Some shows will use the title sequence to be less representative of the main character in a series, but more illustrative of the world the story takes place in. One series that beautifully accomplishes establishing the tone of the world that we see is Scavengers Reign. What makes the show stand out from other maroon space freighter stories is how developed and real the alien world feels. It's not just a reskinned Earth with arbitrarily changed colors. This world has an ecosystem and life that has evolved on its own to fulfill the different needs of the creatures on the planet. What happens to the survivors of the ship of the Demeter is not retribution or motivated by plot necessity. Everything that happens is just the characters trying to survive existing in an environment that does not care about the crew's struggles or needs. It is nature unapologetically existing as it always has. The title sequence reflects this environment by playing out the events of the Demeter's crash, not to sounds of carnage and destruction that we see in flashes, but to the sound of beautiful piano. This is not a biased view of seeing the crash as a tragedy, but just as an event that you witness. You are seeing the crash in the title sequence in the same manner that the creatures of the planet are seeing the survivors. You're not meant to care, just to observe. This is emblematic of the world the survivors are marooned in, unaware of why these humans are here, and ultimately uncaring, just concerned about surviving as they always have. Our last example is one of our favorites, and not only serves to give subtle backstory on the main characters in the show, but also mirrors the underlying tone of the entire series, Succession. The title sequence is masterfully executed, cutting together modern-day establishing shots of different elements of the Roy family's empire in New York City, and home movie Super 8 footage of the family in presumably the 80s. It's these shots that are the most telling about Logan Roy's kids. We see how stiff and rigid the family is together. There are no shots of Logan acting like a loving father. He is distant and never interacts directly with the kids, except to be a looming figure standing over them. This is reflective of his role in the entire series, a monolith of a family figurehead, impossible for those around him to read into and predict. We understand that just from his presence, or lack of presence, in the intro. This also clues us into the psyche of the kids in the rest of the show. We never get flashbacks or even real explanation of the kids' childhood, but these clips tell us all we need to know about their lives growing up in the shadow of their father. This is further emphasized by the music choice. The beautifully complex arrangement ebbs and flows with different instruments taking lead and playing out the theme of the song. Much like how the different characters of the show plot and scheme to take control of Waystar Royco Media. But while that is all happening, Logan Roy is still the driving force behind the company, just like the driving bass line that is ever present throughout the song. This show's introduction is a masterclass in establishing tone and creating a sense of why our lead characters act the way they do throughout the run of the show. So why care? Like we said earlier, the seemingly antiquated aspect of TV shows almost seems like a nod to tradition, more so than its original purpose. This all started as a method to identify the program that was about to play to the viewer, as well as let them know who starred in and who created the show. With more people getting their media through streaming than cable or broadcast media, and nearly all these streaming services offering some kind of skip intro button, there's a chance that some viewers have never even seen the opening credits to some of their favorite shows. So why do we take time to pick apart these easily missable and not entirely necessary aspects of watching TV shows? Because in an age when a show can last as long as the showrunner, networks, and streaming services want, It's so captivating to see what they choose to do in a completely optional and compressed format. Do they choose to just give us the title, or choose to do something more? Give us a hint at what's to come with the theme of the show. Give us insight to an unspoken aspect of the series. Or just give us more of the world that the story takes place in. It's deciding to do more with what many consider optional that creates lasting and memorable shows in the first place. Caring about the little things means that the creators respect us as an audience and are willing to do more to give us something worth dedicating our time to. So what are some of your favorite TV show title sequences? And what ones did you think of that tell more of a story that we didn't mention? Let us know down in the comments. If you liked the video, please consider liking and subscribing. This has been Cursory Analysis. Thank you.